Hi, my name is Davy. I'm an illustration student, and for one of the modules in my course, I was tasked with creating a one-page zine. If you don't know what a one-page zine is, take a piece of paper, any size, fold it in half, then again, unfold it until the paper is in its original half state, cut a slit in the middle, and then unfold it completely. Take those ends and then push them together like so, and voila! The theme for our project was discovery, and the zine had to double as a poster once unfolded. This was going to be my first time approaching creating a comic, which was both intimidating and exciting. Being an author-illustrator is something I only realized fairly recently was going to be my overall aim as an artist. So whilst I had many a piece under my belt, I'd always been afraid to branch out into the world of pages and panels. This was going to push me a little bit, in a good way, and I decided to record my process for prosperity. So what was my zine going to be about? Earlier this year, me and two of my friends went to the London Pride Parade for the first time. Now, the parade itself was amazing, great time, but my favorite part was the travel from place to place. Seeing people celebrating on the streets, in cafes and restaurants, on the tube. It was in these moments in between that I felt that feeling of community at its strongest. Every corner was ours, part of our celebration. This discovery was the most impactful one I made this year, and it was what I decided to base my zine on. I also visited Queer Britain, a fantastic free-entry London LGBTQ museum, the only one in the country, in fact. Upon entry, you'll see this large wall of notes where people have written little messages celebrating their queerness, and you can add your own. Look at this one. Every time I come here and see it, it makes me so happy. This wall is such a testament to queer joy. If I was going to pull on anything when it came to inspiration for this scene, it was going to be this. Afterwards, I also asked some of my pals to provide me with notes in the same vein as the ones on the wall. You'll be seeing some of them pop up throughout the video. When it came to capturing the overall vibes I was looking for, I looked at two places in particular. At Party Peep on Instagram and one of my favorite games ever, Florence. Party Peep's work and Florence present soft and distinct-looking characters in styles that project a sweetness that I really wanted to imbue a little bit in my zine and characters. With this, I felt I had enough to go off to do some visual experimentations. The parameters for this project is that we could only use 3 colors, not including white. You may wonder, how would one achieve the look of Pride, something with very notably many colors, with only 3? The answer? You be sneaky and use red, yellow, and blue, layering them slightly here and there to give the impression that you're using more colors than you actually are. I did some color blocking and drew out some thumbnails to make sure this idea would work, and I was happy with the results. Using my style inspirations, I also designed a protagonist for the zine that the viewer would follow through each page. For some context, the story of the zine that I decided to go for is that this character would go through a self-discovery whilst traveling through London during Pride. I wanted them to come across as a character a viewer could project onto with not too many identifiable traits. Their plain color scheme and design will contrast the people in celebration happening around them. Something that would slowly change as they develop and gain a greater understanding of themselves. After this was finished, I was happy to start on the zine itself. Starting with the cover, I unfortunately forgot to record the time-lapse for this. I wanted to keep it simple. I have my little character preparing to go outside, looking in a bathroom mirror, their face neutral and body language closed off. I wanted this to communicate a lack of confidence and a dissatisfaction with their identity. I kept the entirety of the cover a desaturated blue, showing that their life is literally lacking color. With the title, I am terrible when it comes to incorporating text in my work, so I really leaned into the fact that this zine is made in a very watercolor-esque aesthetic. On to the second page, I wanted to correct some of the issues I had with the thumbnailing. I felt the way that I had mixed the colors were a bit too sporadic and haphazard. I needed to tell a bit more of a story, so I focused on making sure that the blue was very clearly centralized on my protagonist, and the other colors bleeding into it like paint on a canvas. This was also where I started introducing some other little guys. To try and avoid redundancy, here's page 3 and 4 together. At this point, I was really thankful that I decided to go with a loose and simple style for this zine. I have ADHD, and anything more detailed, working under a strict deadline, would have made me want to turn to goop. Page 4 is probably my favorite of the bunch. I felt the colors really came together nicely here. Here are 5 and 6. We're getting into central London now, where the parade route would have been. So we see more faces and more colors mixing into the pavement. The reference pictures I took for these places around London were gotten whilst I was booking it to a production of Phantom of the Opera. It's a miracle I got anything readable to work from. On to the final 2. It really feels like I'm trying to fill airtime with waffle at this point. I made these 2 pages like a day before the print deadline, and I think it shows. Definitely the most rushed, especially the last. Though I'm still happy with them. I think colors are spread out well in the last page. Definitely feels the most like a rainbow, which caps off the story I was telling through color quite nicely. Whilst I wish I could have done more for the back, I think it's cute in its simplicity. Seeing our little characters smile and take on color is enough to communicate to a viewer that they've made a discovery for the better. And lastly, the poster. At first, I was kind of bricking this. I had a clear idea of what I wanted the poster to be composition-wise, but the colors for a bit just weren't working. Compared to the comic's slow trickle of color, I wanted the poster to be more like a rainbow explosion. Problem with this is that I found it really hard to use those same 3 primary colors throughout, and blending them without things looking too cluttered or muddy. I started to feel better in the final stages. I asked some of my friends for help, and they said that better color distribution and more saturation would bring the piece to life a bit more, and they were very right. I feel like the poster looks a lot in a good way now as opposed to a bad. I still think things could have been cleaner, but with the day before the print deadline, I had to know when to let things be. And we're finished. Time to print. Overall, very happy with how this little thing turned out. I've never really made something I could hold and maneuver like this. It's nice. This is my baby now. Of course, my friends also made zines for the module, and I'm sorry, please indulge me, I just have to show them off because they're so good. My friend at Jelly Muffins made this beautiful zine about the universe and its limitless potential, and if we are stardust, then that must mean that we hold that same beauty and potential within us too. It's really sweet, and what she wrote on the zine is much prettier than I could convey with just that description. So much work has been put into this thing. Jelly Muffins is so talented, and everything she makes is incredibly pretty. I love it. Next is at Solio, and look at this guy. Look at this funky little man. So much love has been put inside this baby, and you can tell, like, oh my gosh. This zine is about this tiny little scientist guy doing super cool and not at all dangerous experiments. There's even this cool little flowchart that you can take to see what kind of mad scientist you are. I'm a necromancer. Seriously, I need this animated right now or I will explode. At Heartbeat Arts makes work that looks like it would taste like candy. Their little OC Frankie is no exception. Look at this cute little guy and his dark green coat. Though in the zine, Heartbeat takes this little fella and cracks them open to explore their emotions through darker artistic storytelling. The colors are so rad, Heartbeat is so rad, please check out our stuff. And that's that. Honestly, one of the biggest joys of this module has been seeing what everyone managed to bake in the oven with the allotted time.
For a lot of us, this was our first time attempting a comic. I'm so proud of what everyone managed to get done. And with that, we reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Originally, we were going to have these zines displayed somewhere. The end of this video was going to be a vlog of sorts about that, but timings fell through. So instead, I'll leave you with something a little different. I mainly worked on this zine from October through part of November, and during that time, stuff happened that is not very good for anyone, but especially queer people in a land that, while isn't my neck of the woods, the pinpricks are definitely still felt and are still scary. This kind of video isn't where I'd soothe on that, but what I will say is that working on this project during this period, with help from immensely, ridiculously talented queer friends, and seeing the work that they keep putting out, it gave me hope during a time when it was needed. So please, if you're a queer creative, keep making things, even if they're as small as a one-page zine.